Yeah, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Rising Sun podcast. I have a very special guest here today. Another content creator out there within the Megatenverse. We got Strain42. How's it going, man?
Hey, good. Marvelous hello, everybody. How's it going today?
Yeah, there's been lots of interesting stuff happening recently. We luckily had to push this an extra day, but that's actually a good thing because all the Soul Hackers 2 English voices, at least almost all of them, have been, shown to us. At least the main cast has been shown to us. We're sort of talking about that, but I honestly think they did a pretty good job. I'm happy with this cast. I think it's pretty good. Each voice sounds kind of like how I pictured it in my head. If you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely excited for it. I will say my one kind of fingers crossed casting choice, and I always hope for this guy to show up in some Megaton game. Do you know Sungwon Cho, ProZD?
Oh yeah, ProZD. Yeah, he does the Beastmaster in Borderlands 3.
Yeah, he's done a lot of great voices, and technically he has been in the Megaton game. I think he supplied additional voices in Strikers, but I keep hoping he's gonna get some main character role, because he's done a lot of great voice work. He's worked with Sega. He's done a lot of dub work. I think it's only a matter of time before he's in either some Persona spin-off, main character in some Persona spin-off, or Soul Hackers 2 or something. And I was kind of hoping he would be what's the dude's name with the shark teeth? Saizo? Is that his name?
Yeah, Saizo, yeah.
I really think he would have been a good Saizo, but I will say the voice we heard for Saizo is also very good. I can't remember the actor's name right now, but
I can't remember either. All I know is that Erica's in there again, who plays Futaba Sophie. Yeah. And she's also Jessie in the Final Fantasy remake.
She's in a lot of great stuff,
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are also expecting that too, for her to be there somewhere. Like you were saying earlier before we started, she's in so much Megaten stuff. So I mean, it's nice to hear her again. I always hear her, and as soon as I hear her, I'm like, oh, it's Futaba, because I guess it's just where I first heard her from. It's just one of those recognizable just voices, I guess. Yeah. Similar to Troy Baker and stuff.
I think one of the first roles I heard Erica Lindbeck in was Asahi in SMT4 Apocalypse. And I remember that I didn't know who her voice was at the time, but I remember just being like, wow, this actress is doing a really good job. And then I just started hearing her in just so many things. She was Minot in Street Fighter V, and she's Roll in the current Mega Man games, and I like Erica Lindbeck a lot, so this is not a complaint or anything. I will say though, as much as I like her, she would not have been my choice for Milady, so I'm kind of interested to see how that's gonna turn out.
Yeah, I thought Milady could have had I don't know. I kind of get what you're saying for her. I think somebody I don't know if you ever heard Colleen Clickabeard. I think that's how you say her name. I've always pictured her as characters like that with that kind of voice, similar to I don't know, Moxie from the Borderlands series.
Oh,
that's kind of how I pictured her voice being.
I could see that. I forget who plays Moxie, but I could definitely see that.
Yeah, I think it's Colleen Clickenbeard. I think pretty sure that's how you say
okay, it is her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I always picture a voice like that. But I don't know, I'm happy with the voice list. Like I said, like you were saying, this is no hate on them. I think they did a pretty good job. Atlus in general, when it comes to audio, pretty good. Music and the voice acting and everything, they do a pretty solid job. So
oh yeah, I mean, I don't think I've been disappointed in one of their dubs pretty much since 2005 with Digital Devil Saga. They knocked that one out of the park, and honestly, even for the most part, even Persona 2 on the PS1 had pretty good casting. Even back then, they had Dave Wittenberg and Amanda Windley and Lonnie Minella. They had good voice actors even way back then. So yeah, Atlus has always been pretty good with dub casting.
Yeah, which is important too, especially for a game that that is Japanese. You need to have good dubs. I've always heard dubs be kind of crazy, especially for the first times jumping over to America or somewhere else, like Dragon Ball, for instance. I know it's not a game, but they've dubbed games too for Dragon Ball. Sometimes there's translation errors, and the voice acting is bad. Sometimes they cast characters and they have to fix it years later. But yeah, I think Megaten for the most part, like, typically does a pretty good job. And I'm definitely happy about that. Even like the movies are pretty good too for the Megaten stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe like storyline and plot wise they're kind of bad sometimes, but not too bad though.
I don't remember. Did you ever see Tokyo Revelation, that like OVA from 1997, that Megami Tensei OVA?
No, I don't think so.
Like I don't think ATLUS specifically had anything to do with it, but it is a Megaten thing. It's based off of like a manga, and it's like it's very cheesy. It's very 90s anime. It's just kind of how I can say it. But again, like, talented dub actors. They had like Steve Bloom and Lex Lang and oh my god, I'm blanking on her name. The lady who played Millie in Trigun. Very distinct voice. I just can't remember her name.
I know the voice. I can't remember her name either.
Yeah, but like, yeah, like even back then, like 1997 cheesy OVA dub, still good actors. Like,
yeah, dude. Like, I don't know. 90s is such a sweet spot for dubbing. I don't know why. I just love 90s. 90s anime in general, to me, just is so good.
It's that fascinating realm of almost like the early forays into the art form, and it's just kind of appreciating what we were able to do back then, even if it wasn't great. Because I don't know about you, I love cheesy bad dubs. Like, I love like I love like the Gamera movies, like the old like Japanese kaiju flicks from like the 60s and 70s and stuff. And there's one, Gamera versus Guiron. That movie is so much better if you watch it in the native Japanese, but the dub is so horrendously, hilariously bad. And it's like not just the voices, it's like their phonics and just everything about it is so amazingly hilariously bad.
It's kind of like, what's that movie, The Room? Like, it's so bad. Like, they acted it so bad that it's funny. Like, it's good.
Oh yeah. I went to an art school with a lot of film majors, and it was like a regular social event to just watch The Room, which I'll confess is a movie I never personally like. I'm not even of the mind that it's so bad it's good. I'm just like, to me it's just bad. I don't really enjoy watching it.
I've kind of been the same with it.
But I absolutely get why other people do.
Yeah, but like I said, 90s dubs just hit a sweet spot. I grew up playing, like, watching Dragon Ball and playing the Dragon Ball game, so I've always heard those voices constantly. It's funny, like, as a kid, I didn't notice, like, from the start to, like, the end of, like, where they are now, so many of the voice actors changed because of, like, how just bad they were. Like, Frieza's had 4 different actors now. Unfortunately, one, like, died recently, but even the Aogami, who... SMT5,
yeah,
he does Frieza now.
Damon Mills,
Damon Mills, yeah. So it's just like, I don't know, like you were saying, it's just, you gotta appreciate that kind of stuff. Like, back then too, it wasn't like voice acting was a job, right? It's like you had to find people who just did voices somehow. Like, a lot were musicians or actors or something like that. They weren't like trained to be voice actors at the time, so that's always interesting how that plays out. I think the SMT stuff is done in LA, not Texas. Like, I know a lot's done in Texas, but I think they're in LA.
I believe you're right. ATLUS does a lot of their stuff, like, in studio, I believe, so.
Yeah, like, near LA. But talking more about, like, the ATLUS stuff, like, we know we had huge news regarding P3, P4, and P5 coming to Xbox and also PC, which I believe we also had now confirmation that it's coming to Steam and, like, PlayStation and whatnot as well.
Yes.
Which is beyond happy, to be honest. I didn't expect Xbox to be the first ones to also come out with this news, strangely enough, but they were.
It blows my mind that for, admittedly only a couple of days, but yeah, we lived in a world where Persona 3 Portable and Persona 4 Golden were confirmed for Xbox but not PlayStation 4, and that was I was like, I know they're coming. I know this was an Xbox show. Obviously, they're going to announce the other stuff later. But for those couple of days, just that dread of, but what if they don't? It's just like, it was infuriating. Like, I knew it was going to happen. I'm not saying I lost hope, but there's always that little voice in the back of your head, and I was just like, It's like, just announce it already, and they did. I think it was Thursday, last Thursday or something.
I think so. It was like 2 days. I think. I think people like were talking about being leaked like a day after, but it was like definitely confirmed like 2 days
I
after.
remember like this the Steam announcement. I think was before we had confirmation of PlayStation, but.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. Yeah, it took PlayStation a minute, but like you were saying, it was like, just wait, just hold on for it. Because I was like, worst case scenario, I just play them on my computer. That's how I streamed all of Persona 4 Golden last year. That was the first time I ever played that game. Crazy enough. Well, I played on PS3, but like not Golden though. I just played like base P4.
Yeah.
And I so badly wanted to have P3 just to play it in some way, and I was trying to play it on my PS3 because it's got that the thing where it had old PS2 classics on there, and I was just trying to play it, and the aspect ratio is all bad and stuff, and I had one stream, and I was like, guys, I don't know if I could do this. Like, it's just so hard to play it, and I had to set the Elgato up and everything. I was like, guys, this kind of sucks. So I'm just super happy P3 finally. Like, I'm able to play it anywhere I want, except for, you know, Switch, of course, which somehow people are still salty about that. It's like, we got it everywhere else, guys. Like, this is beyond what Atlus would ever do, you know?
I still think it could happen. Like, at this point, I'll confess, like, I'm not heavily invested. This isn't me going, I want them to come to Switch so I can play them, because I'm probably not going to play them. Like, even if they do come to Switch, I'd probably stick with the PlayStation 4 versions.
That's how I'm feeling, too.
But at the same time, it's like, I do want, you know, Switch fans to be able to play them, and I know everyone's like, I'll just get it on Steam or whatever. I don't like being told, just play it on Steam, because my laptop is a piece of crap and does not run games very well. So, for
That's
me,
understandable.
Steam is like, I'm fine with playing like low, not low effort, but like low power, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Like indie games that aren't going to crash my computer, but like, even trying to play Golden on my laptop, it runs at like 20 frames a second, and I'm just like, alright. Yeah, like...
Yeah, and that's an old game, too. But to be fair, they do some weird things to Golden that makes it, like, more demanding for some reason. Like, it totally isn't like a PS2 game for some reason, but
right.
I definitely get where you're coming at with that. I stream a lot and do a lot of stuff on the computer, so my first instinct is, like, when the game comes, I was like, can I get this on Steam? Can I stream it to somebody, you know?
Understandable.
Yeah. But I do plan on getting a Steam Deck, because I still want them portable for some reason. Something about JRPGs being portable, it just seems so right. Like, because I always just grew up playing Pokemon, and they've always been portable that way, so I'd probably double dip, to be honest. I guess if you had to, like, what exactly would you get everything for? Would you just get it all for PlayStation? I know we were talking about P5, you know, the remastered version coming out, and whether or not we're really going to jump on that, but I guess when it comes to P3, P4, and P5, you had to get them all again. Would you just go straight PlayStation?
Yeah, definitely, probably. Yeah, PlayStation for me. I feel like I've spent so many years saying Persona 4 or Persona 4 Golden should be on PS4 that I really just can't even imagine getting it for anything else. And unless by some crazy coincidence, and I don't even remember. Were they confirmed? They were confirmed for PS5, right? Like PS4 and PS5. Golden.
Yeah, I believe it just goes over.
If by some crazy twist of fate I have a PS5 when those games come out, then sure, I'll probably get them on PS5. But I don't see that happening. But also though, my PS4 is like full, so I might have to delete.
Same.
Because I always forget that when you put discs in, it's like, oh, installing the game. So it's like, even games I own physically is like, this takes up 57 gigs.
Definitely.
And then I'm like, oh, well, let me clear some stuff. And then, like, all the digital games I have, those hardly take up anything. But
yeah, it's so weird. But yeah, I don't know. I wonder if they've released, because I'm pretty sure they're not supposed to be doing physical releases for P3 and P4, but
yeah, I think
it'd be perfect to put the bundle together for a physical release.
That would be cool. I'd be down for that. Or I definitely don't see this happening. And I would be a little annoyed if it did, just because I already bought it digitally. I remember I kept saying back when we thought Golden was going to come earlier. Excuse me. I thought they were going to do like a midnight channel bundle where it's like you can get Golden and Ultimax together, and that would be a great physical release. Is just bundling those two games.
Yeah, definitely. I guess just whether or not Atlus would like try to put two old games together, and whether or not they feel like it's worth pushing it out. I mean, they should know just from Steam how well P4, Golden did. I'm not sure exactly how well Arena did though.
Ultimax, I believe, did not do very well because they barely marketed it. And again, a lot of what it was released for were consoles that it was digital only, and you couldn't play Persona 4 on them. Like, thankfully now those games are coming. But to me, the most, I know it's kind of a meme to be like, haha, Atlus pulls an Atlus. The most Atlus pulls an Atlus moment I can ever recall was when they announced Ultimax and they had that interview where they were like, we saw how incredibly well Persona 4 Golden did on Steam, so we brought Ultimax to consoles. And it was like,
so backwards.
Why not Golden?
I guess because they always just knew this was gonna come. Maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I'm sure they had the plan. Like, I'm sure when they, I'm sure, like, what is it? The 7 announcements. I'm sure back when they announced the 7 announcements, they probably know what all of them are. Like, it's, I'm not saying this was a late decision or anything, but yeah.
Who knows? Maybe it was.
Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe it just was like a lot of business stuff. You know what I mean? And it was just holding them off. I don't know.
Maybe that is part of it. I don't know. So speaking of the 7 announcements, so we've got 2 more at this point. As far as I know, I haven't checked the site recently. We don't have dates for any of them. Like, normally they kind of tell us what month the next one is going to be, but I think right now we have one that says coming soon, and then the last one that just says autumn. I think
it's so weird.
Yeah. Well, I think that last one, regardless of when it is, I don't know if it's going to be like whenever they do the concert, which I don't remember when the concert is. Is that like September or October or something?
I think September. I thought. No, I think it's later than that. I think it's October.
I think it is. So that is obviously where I expect we're going to be getting some announcements. I think, to me, end the show. That's when we're going to get Persona 6. Like, I don't know what level we're going to get Persona 6. Like, it might just be the equivalent of that Persona 5 chair teaser from back in 2012, 2013, whenever that was. That
chains and stuff.
Yeah, that just, like, original, like, basically just an image and some text. Like, nothing on the game. Just an announcement of Persona 6. I feel like that would be the minimum. I mean, ideally, I would love it to be something a bit more substantial than that. But
yeah, just also knowing, like, JRPGs, though, to be fair, even if it still is a long time for them to develop this game, which I feel like, mostly the Persona games have been that way, but P5 kind of had a bit of a different story with them, like, practically going bankrupt and switching engines and stuff. I could see P6 being developed easier and faster, hopefully, and just knowing the popularity of Persona and Sega also helping them.
Persona 5 definitely went through a lot of stuff, and I remember, like, I think originally that was supposed to be, like, a round-the-world thing, and then it was, like, there were earthquakes in Japan, so they were like, let's keep it central to Japan. So, yeah, Persona 5 definitely went through a lot. But that's actually, this is something I want to ask you about, because this is something that I find kind of fascinating. There's a very specific date. I don't remember if, I don't remember if this is the exact date, or if I just kind of rounded up to the Thursday, because that's, when games come out in Japan is usually Thursday. Mm-hmm. So November 21st, 2024. Do you think Persona 6 will be out before that date or after that date?
I feel like it's going to be after. I don't know, because I guess just how JRPGs are and the Japanese companies, I always feel like, this might just be because of Square Enix, to be honest with you. I always feel like they announce games like 2 or 3 years beforehand, and I'm just kind of used to that. So if I feel like if we get anything for P6, I totally feel like it'll be a couple of years down the road. And I also feel like it hasn't been long enough since P5, even though P5's like getting close to like almost 5 years old, I think. Just base P5. I'm pretty sure it's like, is it next year? It's 5 years, I think. I'm not too sure. It's kind of close.
Technically, I think it's over 5 years now, because Persona 5 came out in 2016 in Japan.
Oh, wait, yeah, you're right, because it's Japan. That's right.
So it's been over
a whole year.
Yeah. But the
Yeah.
reason why I bring up that specific date, and it's kind of because you mentioned that like that gap between Persona 5 and now. The reason why I pick that specific date is because that date between Persona 5's original release in 2016 and that exact date that I said, I think it's the exact date. I'd have to double check, which I'm not going to do right now. But November 21st, 2024, that is the same distance of time that was between Persona 4 and Persona 5.
Oh,
so that's why I think that's an interesting question.
That changes my mind a little bit.
Do we believe that the gap between Persona 5 and Persona 6 will be less or greater than the gap that was between 4 and 5?
I feel like it should be less. You know what I mean?
See, that's the thing. It's like, I feel like it should be too, and it would make sense if it was. Because like we said, there's a lot of stuff that pushed Persona 5 back, and that presumably Persona 6 hasn't had those problems. I will say this, though. I will say this. My answer will probably change with whatever they have announced this year, because
that's what I was gonna say. Like, if they show gameplay or something, it's like, whoa, okay, they're, maybe they're a bit further along than we thought. Or if they show us like multiple characters in the game or something, then yeah, I definitely could see that being something different. But also, it's this is also something too, like, with all of these older Persona games jumping to multiple consoles and Steam and stuff, it's like, I wonder if maybe for P6, they're going to try and do more with it than just having it come to PlayStation or something like that, which I guess could also make it be longer. I don't know. My instinct tells me they shouldn't take them as long to make P6 because of just everything being more smoothly, I'd assume, around now. And I don't think the 25th anniversary is taking too much time out of the Persona studio, and most of the like things like strikers and whatnot are done by other like third parties that Atlus sort of pays to do that. So like, what could the Persona team be doing other than making P6, unless they're doing something wild like remastering like P1 or something like that? I don't know. I feel like it shouldn't take as long.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I don't know, and that's why like I'm curious to see whatever the concert event is. That's where I think we're gonna get the bulk of stuff. So like for example, like the next Persona of the the 7 announcements or whatever. And I don't mean this in like a pessimistic or any kind of negative way. I have no hope for that one. I have no like, and no, because I do just fully believe. I believe at this point, it's like with the 2 we have left, we're probably gonna have one more that's just gonna be mostly a business related thing or a Japan exclusive thing, and like I'm not even gonna be mad about that, because
just like merch too. It's always like merch,
because I know what's coming after that is that concert.
Yeah, for sure. And to be fair, like, even when it comes to stuff like Ultimax, that wasn't first released during the P25 times. That was done somewhere else. I think I can't remember what event it was exactly, but we've seen Ultimax there.
It was
P3, P4, and P5. Same situation.
I think it was the Game Awards. The Game Awards pre-show, I think, was Ultimax.
Yeah, I think you're right. And then P3, P4, and P5. So, literally, the biggest things coming from Persona was not even during the, like, Persona Time stuff. So,
right.
I definitely could see that being a possibility, because I don't know, for whatever reason they do that, and they just like touch up on things for the Persona Times, which I guess is good. The Persona Times, I guess, sort of puts together all the recent announcements and things. And it does make sense to also try and push the games on a bigger, platform like the Xbox stuff or the Game Rewards and stuff like that. It makes sense to put it there, I guess, because whether or not we like it or not, the 25th Times is kind of like maybe just the super fans of Persona and Mega 10, so it's hitting more the core audience when they put it to those bigger gaming events.
That's definitely a good place to make those announcements for Western fans, because we don't really have a Western equivalent of like the Persona Times. Like, we might get like the Atlus Twitter
now.
Well, yeah, that's true. They do kind of do those now.
The West, but to be fair, it's not very good either.
even yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, even that's not as big as, I guess I can't really say an E3 announcement because we don't have E3 this year. But it's basically it's E3. Like it's E3 season.
Yeah.
Even if it's not E3.
I was talking to Kira about this in the Midnight Channel. I think you know him.
Yeah, yeah.
We were talking about this, about like gaming conventions and like these types of things, about how like nowadays it's more or less just like the individual platforms, or even like companies like they did Microsoft plus like Bethesda having their own events. Would you rather have a smaller, concise like event just by the individual like gaming studios, or would you rather have something big like E3 where it's like it's like really long and has multiple studios? So I was talking to him about like, I think I'd rather it be like just an hour long and just be like one company or platform or something like that. Like, I don't know. I see the pros and cons to both. What would you prefer more?
I mean, like, I still very much, I do love E3 season, and I love when companies put these big shows together. And it's like, and I definitely don't necessarily want those to go away. I like that companies kind of make these big events in June. I just think it's a nice kind of ritual. At the same time, though, I love the Nintendo Direct, state of play, like that style of thing, and it's like, I would absolutely be down for, like some sort of, I don't know what like Xbox would call it, but like, yeah, if 3 or 4 times a year they wanted to be like, hey, here's just 20 minutes of cool game stuff we got planned, I'd be down for seeing way more companies do stuff like that. Which is weird to think about, because it's like, because I do acknowledge that we are basically just like excited for essentially commercials, and
it's weird.
It's that really is all it is, and that's why like anytime I get into discussions on Twitter about like Nintendo Directs, there's always someone who's like, oh, boo-hoo, you don't get your extended commercials. It's like, yeah, but they're commercials that I want to see.
Yeah, like, this is like, we're consumers at the end of the day.
Don't take this away from me, like.
Yeah.
I would save so much money if I just did not follow any game news or announcements. It just like.
Yeah, just be oblivious and just not know about the stuff.
Just not know of anything that's actually coming out, because that really is where I spend the most, like the majority of my money is like, a lot of the games I spend, it's just like, I'm on Twitter all the time, and I various indie games just pop up. I'm like, oh, that looks cool, I'll buy that. Like,
definitely. I bought, oh man, I got the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters. I think it's like it's Final Fantasy 1 through 6. I didn't have plans to even get it, but I was just scrolling through Steam. It's like half off. I was like, well, it's like $120, but if I buy it right now, it's only $60. Like, I must do that. And I've only played Final Fantasy 15 and like a little bit of 10. And I'm just now going through 7. I was like, I just bought like 6 Final Fantasy games, and I've like only beat 2 of them.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I just like, I don't know, something about that. It's like, it's a sweet deal. I have to do it. Steam always gets me like that. That's why I have such a big catalog. So I ordered a Steam Deck, but I don't get it till Q3. So it could be like a month or 2 from now, or like 5 months from now, unfortunately. But I'm ready for it.
A lot of Steam games. In fact, I think I actually got an email for this today where it was like, this game from your Steam list is on sale, and it was like 25% off. And I feel like this game goes on sale a lot for 25% off, and I feel like I should just buy it. But I'm always just like, it'll go on sale for more than that.
Knowing Steam, it'll be more later.
I don't know. But no, so like I like, at this point, it's not even that I have a backlog. I just have a log at this point. It's like I always keep, anytime I buy a new game in a year, I write it down. I write down every game that I buy, because that way, towards the end of the year, when I'm trying to put together my like top 10 games of the year or whatever interesting game things I want to talk about, I have a handy dandy list of things that I've bought, so I don't like accidentally forget something and be like, oh yeah, that game came out in like February and I completely forgot about it. But I'm looking at this list right now, and it's like, I haven't played some of these games. Like, I bought them, and it's like it's not even just like, oh, I played a little bit of them and I need to get back to them. I just have not played them.
Yeah, I bought the Mass Effect collection when it came out, and I found it for like $20 or something like that at GameStop. And I know GameStop is kind of bad, but sometimes you find sweet deals at GameStop. I gotta admit, especially if it's like used and like it's hardly touched. I'm like, shit, I'll buy that. But yeah, I bought the Mass Effect collection. I played it for like 2 hours, and then I think some like other big Megaton stuff popped up, and like some other games came out, and I just got lost. I haven't even touched it yet, so yeah, it's kind of bad. I get what you mean. Like I have a bookshelf with just like all my games and stuff, and I try to like sort it by how much I've played them and like what ones I need to play, because I also have Cyberpunk. But that's for another reason why I didn't play that one. It wasn't broken for me necessarily. I have a PlayStation 4 Pro, and it wasn't too bad for me, honestly. I had a few glitchy textures here or there, but like, no more than I think like a normal big open world game would have had. But I still never played it. It's still in the backlog. I played it for like an hour. And knowing those games are absolutely huge, like all these Final Fantasy games I have to play, they're also huge as well. So I'm just like, man, I just need to have a whole month where I just do nothing but play games. But it's like, work's not gonna let me do that. That's not possible.
Right.
Fortunately, my backlog is way too huge.
So I have a question for you. So we're about halfway through the year now. What would you say has been just counting games from this year? I don't know when that like Mass Effect trilogy came out, but like, you know, not
last year, I think.
Okay, yeah. So like not counting that. So specifically games that released this year. What would you say so far, like, is your game of the year that you've played, and what is, like, your most anticipated game for the rest of this year that's, like, confirmed to come out this year?
I think for sure Soul Hackers 2, and that's just not me even being, like, a Megaton creator. I'm genuinely, like, curious about that game. I think it'll be really good. I would have said Starfield, but that comes out next year. Actually, you know what? The Crisis Core remake from Final Fantasy. I look forward to that as well. I don't know, me and Kiro have a podcast together, Rising Night podcast, which is, it's the opposite of this one. It's this Rising Sun. I don't know, I just tried to pick something with my name, but Rising Night just like was both of our names on the Midnight Channel Rising Oblivion put together, so it just worked well. He didn't even realize that when he named it. It wasn't even me. But I think we went over all the Final Fantasy stuff, and honestly, that Square Enix event was such a banger. Almost every game in there I look forward to playing, but only that Crisis Core remake comes out this year. I think I can't remember, I think it's like November or something like that. I'm not 100% sure. That, and probably Soul Hackers 2, honestly, which Soul Hackers is right around the corner, which I'm really hyped for. If I had to go for a game of the year, this might be kind of typical, but I'm probably gonna have to go with Elden Ring. Elden Ring blew my mind. And I rushed through Dark Souls 1, the remaster. I streamed the whole thing. And I just like got really big into like Souls games again right before Elden Ring came out. And Elden Ring came out and it blew my mind, the difference from like some of the other ones. It was insane. I don't know. What about you? What's your most anticipated game for the year? So far, what would be your game of the year? Because here's the thing also, too. Like, most of the games come out towards the end of the year, so our game of the years could very well change quickly.
I will say this, though. Like, I'm open to my game of the year changing, but
same.
With how much I truly loved this game, I will be very surprised if it does. And that game is Triangle Strategy. I don't know if you played that one at all, but
I've seen it. I've seen it, but I haven't played it.
So Final Fantasy Tactics like is my favorite Final Fantasy, and this is like, I feel like this is the closest we've really had to capturing that kind of magic of of everything I loved about that game since then, and I really really liked it. So
I guess I haven't played like a JRPG like that, because it's like a what's it called? What's that genre? It's like a strategy
RPG. Yeah, strategy
yeah.
RPG.
I haven't really tried one of those before.
I mean, this is I would argue it's a good entry point for one. At the same time, though, it has a lot of kind of mechanics that are more advanced than you normally see in the genre. Like, I mean, honestly, I would recommend Final Fantasy Tactics.
Yeah,
If they would put it on anything. I keep hoping they're gonna announce it for the Switch, because I feel like all the other PlayStation era Final Fantasies are available on more modern consoles, you know, like 9 and 7 and 8, but not Tactics.
Square's done a good job at porting their games.
I would not be surprised if we eventually see Tactics.
Yeah, and I'd be down to play that. I mean, I'm always wanting to play more Final Fantasy games. I'm trying to play all the core games.
Oh yeah.
Make like a huge video about it, because I just think that'd be like interesting to talk about. I love Final Fantasy. I just never played the old ones because like they're so freaking old. Like Final Fantasy VII came out the year I was born, so it's like I already missed 7 of them.
Don't say that. I'm so
what?
I'm so old.
You seem young to me. I don't know.
I'm in my 30s, dude. All right.
Oh, you and Kiro both. I give Kiro a hard time sometimes about his age, but
what's that? Speak up. I can't hear you. No.
What'd you say?
Would you like a hard butterscotch candy? But no. Atari. But no.
Wait. What was your first console you played? Now I'm curious.
Well, the first console I ever played was the Atari 2600.
Oh my god.
Now I will say though, like, okay, I say that with an asterisk on it because I don't actually know if that makes any sense. It's like basically like whenever people ask like, you know, what's the first video game you ever played or what's the first console you played, my answer is I don't actually know.
Yeah,
but
you just gotta go off of what your parents said, right?
The one of the earliest gaming memories I have, I don't know if this is actually like my first gaming memory, but I remember my grandparents having a 2600 and I played Centipede. So I give that as my answer. Like, I may have played video games before then. I don't actually know. But in regards to like the first console I really like owned and played, weirdly enough, it was the Super Nintendo / Game Boy, and I say that because it's like I had a Super Nintendo, but I also had I don't know if you knew about this, the Super Game Boy, which allowed you to play Game Boy games on the TV.
Oh, yeah, it was an extension, right? You'd put onto the console and you could put the cartridge in.
Yeah, it was literally just a Super Nintendo cartridge with like basically a Game Boy slot in it. So it's like, so I played Super Nintendo,
which is so badass, by the way.
Oh, I loved it.
So
I loved it. Like even now, like my GameCube, I have the GBA player. I love that thing. But yeah, so it's like, so I had a Super Nintendo, but like even back then, like 90% of the games I was playing on it were not Super Nintendo games. I was just playing Game Boy games on the TV. I was playing Pokemon and Final Fantasy Adventure and Kirby's Dream Land 2, which Kirby's Dream Land 2 is the first video game I ever beat. I remember that.
Dude, the Game Boy had some absolute bangers, to be honest.
Yeah, oh my god, yeah, absolutely. And I am a sucker for that, like, and it's so weird because it's like, you know, some people can argue it's like, oh, it's, you know, it's not that different from that Game Boy aesthetic is just such a, I'm so fond of it.
Yeah, kind of like we were talking about with like 90s anime. Just something about that aesthetic and just something about the time and the audio and everything else. Sometimes the limitations, like, you appreciate because they have to like be creative about that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
I played through my first playthrough ever of the original Pokemon, like Red and Yellow and whatnot. I got it on the 3DS because they have like an emulator thing for that, and I played through Pokemon Gen 1 for the first time ever last year, and
oh, nice.
I was like really surprised by how much I loved it. I like old JRPGs, which is weird because I didn't get into JRPGs till like, I don't know, like 6 years ago or something like that, and of course I played all the modern ones, but I played the old ones and I'm like, I love this. Something about it being not super complicated and sort of just straightforward to me, and the leveling up system and the music and stuff, it makes me feel like they had to try harder on other things because the gameplay kind of was like at a certain level. Which is why I love it. Which is why I love SMT3 as well. That's my favorite Mega 10 game. I don't know if that's a hot take or not. I don't know, but I love it.
I mean, I feel like Nocturne is such like a cult classic. It's like people that like it really, really like it. I admit I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I absolutely understand why people like it. But yeah, so going to Pokemon though, kind of cycling back to what we were saying, that is actually, I don't think it's my most anticipated title for the rest of this year. That's probably either Soul Hackers 2 or possibly Saints Row. I actually do think that looks really fun.
Oh yeah, the soft reboot, right?
Yeah, which is gonna drive me nuts because that and Soul Hackers 2 I think come out like the exact same week.
Oh really?
I'm gonna be very busy at the end of August. And the funny thing is, like, if I can plug my own channel for a little bit, I do a yearly series called Saints-tember. So around the time the new Saints Row comes out, I'm probably going to be replaying Saints Row 3 to record footage to do the video for that. So I'm gonna be playing a lot of Saints Row this year. But
those games are goofy. Like, it's weird because wasn't like the first two more like GTA? They're like kind of more serious, and then they just went, oh fuck it, make them goofy.
The first one was I don't remember, the first one still had some goofy stuff in it, but yeah, that was definitely a much more almost like kind of like cookie cutter. I don't want to say Grand Theft Auto clone or ripoff or anything because but yeah, it was a smaller gangster story, and it really wasn't anything that special. Saints Row 1 is fine. Saints Row 2 is actually one of my favorite video games of all time, and to me that's the sweet spot where it was like still kind of grounded in reality story, but definitely starting to get a little wackier. And it's like, you know, like in the newer games, it's like, oh, we got a problem with this guy, let's shoot him with a laser. But back then it was like, oh, we got a problem with this guy, let's raid a nuclear power plant, steal toxic waste, and slip it into their tattoo ink so it destroys this guy's face. It's
fucking nuts.
Yeah, and that's what I loved. I loved that idea of like, it's like, okay, we need to get revenge. Let's do this in a crazy way.
Yeah, the absolute
but not like, oh,
way.
Not like with aliens and suit. And don't get me wrong, I love the later games too. But that's why I'm actually looking forward to the new one, because that one kind of seems like it's going back at least a little bit to what I really liked about 2, that kind of like super over the topness, but still kind of grounded in reality. I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. The gameplay I've seen looks great, but I've kind of been avoiding a lot of stuff about it.
Yeah, I guess I don't know a whole lot about it. It's like, is the soft reboot supposed to be more like the original game? Is it like the first game, or is it just like completely different? In terms of gameplay and like also like the seriousness of it.
Gameplay wise, it looks a lot more like, it's hard to describe this, but it looks like Saints Row. Like a lot, yeah. It looks like over the top, crazy sandbox fun, which I always look forward to. I have to get into it to see what they really have to offer. But in terms of story, that's what had a lot of people really nervous, is because Saints Row, even at its crazy, like Saints Row, started with like, it's like, yeah, we're like actual gangsters and we're cool and we're badass and we're tough, which, by the way, if that was ever your belief of the Third Street Saints, I question whether or not you played the games, because they have always kind of been losers. It's like, yeah, Johnny Gat seemed cool and people love Johnny Gat, but it's like when you look at like Pierce and Shauna, oh my god, I'm blanking, Shaundi, I'm blanking on her name. Like they're like, even in like one of the first cutscenes, all the background members of the Saints are just like these like bald fat white guys. Like they're not meant to be cool. Like it seems like they are, but
they're your dads, dude. They're the dad gang.
Yeah. But like the new one is definitely much more like kind of Gen Z style characters. You've got like, oh, the hipster with the bow tie and the frames, and like you got this shirtless guy with one of those like, Daft Punk helmets that has like a light up kitty face, and it's like, and I get why people might not be interested in that. But like I said, I gotta play the game for myself and see.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. I mean, a lot of series I think have been kind of doing that. Like even Call of Duty soft rebooted, right? And just literally called it Modern Warfare again.
I think so, yeah. Which I will say, that is one of my biggest pet, not just in games, in any series. I hate when reboots or soft reboots or anything don't use the same title. I hate it, because all it means is that even though it's not the name of the game, we are going to spend the rest of our lives either calling it like the new Saints Row, or like Saints Row 2022, or
exactly
like
Sonic 06.
Yeah, Sonic 06, Punch Out Wii, like I could go on and on. King's Quest 2015, like there's no limit to it's a pet peeve of mine. I'm just like, just add a subtitle or
sometimes they don't though too. Like Call of Duty Modern Warfare, they call it Modern Warfare 2019 because that's when it came out. But then Black Ops is like another Call of Duty game. They called it Cold War, Black Ops Cold War, not Black Ops 2020 or whatever it was supposed to be. So they went weird on it as well. But yeah, definitely like the naming scheme. They need to put like a subtitle or something underneath it or something. It probably sounds better just to call it like the main name. I guess.
I get that that's maybe supposed to be their way of being like, you know, it's like it's a reboot, it's a new series, it's a new timeline, but it's like I feel like a subtitle does that just as well. Or like I said, just literally call it New Saints Row. Like people give Nintendo kind of crap for that, but it's like, you know, Pokemon Snap, like rather than calling it, they didn't call it Pokemon Snap 2, they just called it New Pokemon Snap. I'm fine with that. Like it's like that's so much better to me than if they just called it like they could have just called that game Pokemon Snap. I'm so glad they didn't, but because then we would have either called it Pokemon Snap Switch or Pokemon Snap 2021 or whatever.
Or put like the super name in front of it, like Super Pokemon Snap. Because at least like when you put new in front of it, it's like eventually it's not going to be new. Right. You still call it Super Pokemon Snap though, which Mario's also done as well. But they do get wild with their names. Like
that's
Super Mario
true.
Bros. Wii U or something.
Someone pointed something out where it was like New Super Mario Bros. It was like the gap between New Super Mario Bros. And now is greater than like the gap between New Super Mario Bros. And Super Mario Bros. It was something like that. I don't know if that's actually true, but I was just like,
probably is though. I don't doubt it.
It might be at this point. I don't know. It's like we do live in the age. I've come to accept that people consider the Wii retro, and I'm just like,
I don't know. It's old, sure, but it's like calling the PS2 retro. I wouldn't call it retro yet.
Some people do. Like
some do. I think PS1 back. I think that's retro.
That's fair.
To be honest,
that was it 7th gen, 6th gen. I don't remember.
Yeah, which sucks because, like we were talking about your first consoles. The PS1 was my first console. I played Spyro on there and some racing game. I can't even remember what it was. It was such a long time ago.
Probably like
Spyro.
I'm gonna say Ridge Racer. I'm just gonna guess it was Ridge Racer.
It probably was. It was one of the popular ones, but like that, and then I had a Game Boy Advance SP. That was the first game. That was the first consoles I had, and I played like Pokemon Ruby, and Pokemon Ruby just absolutely just threw me into gaming for sure. Because that was like the first game I beat start to end. Like I had other games on the PS1, right, where like me and my brothers would play together or something like that, and like half the games we got we just wouldn't beat. We would play them for the weekend, but we just like wouldn't beat them. Back when you also rented games, by the way,
right?
Like we'd rent it for the weekend, and we just never would finish games. But like Pokemon Ruby was the first game I bought it, finished it start to end, and I just absolutely loved that game. I fell in love with that, and I think that's technically my first JRPG, I guess. Like, do you remember your first JRPG? I know you talk about Final Fantasy Tactics, but was it also Pokemon? I imagine it was one of those cartridge games you had for your Game Boy.
Yeah, it might have been Pokemon. It was probably either Pokemon or like maybe Final Fantasy Adventure, which would actually be really funny to me if it was, because I didn't know at the time, because they called it Final Fantasy Adventure. I didn't know that Final Fantasy Adventure was basically the first Mana game until like years later, and then Legend of Mana is my favorite video game. So I think it would be very funny if Final Fantasy Adventure was the first kind of RPG I ever played.
I've seen those Mana games, but I never took the jump into them. Same with Dragon Quest. I always thought it looked interesting, but I never jumped into it.
I finally played Dragon Quest for the first time. I picked up 11 for the Switch, because everyone was like, Dragon Quest is great. And I'm like, I believe you. And then everyone was like, Dragon Quest 11 is really great. And I'm like, I will give it a try. And it's very I'm not gonna say I had a bad time with it. I didn't. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I don't think I actually beat it, but I played through a lot of it. But it's very, very weird, because there were moments where I found myself kind of criticizing it for like, okay, this is like such a JRPG cliche, and it's like, is it really a cliche when they're like the series that pioneered the cliches in the first place?
That's a good point.
So I was like, that's the thing. I was like, can I really be mad at this series for basically doing what makes the series so beloved in the first place? It's like, it was an interesting perspective for a newcomer. I'll admit that. But like I said, perfectly fine. I get why it's such a big deal.
So why do you like the mana games? Like, what's unique about those? Because I never played them either.
So honestly, most of the mana games are really not anything that special to me. They're like they're perfectly fine, like kind of action RPGs. Trials of Mana is good because it's like you choose like your main character of the 6, and then you choose like 2 party members from the remaining 5, and it's like, and your combination of party members basically it sets the main story, but it can also change like who kind of like some of the villains are, and it's interesting. So Trials is one I can definitely recommend. Secret of Mana is like one of the most beloved. I personally never really liked it. Legend is just such a unique game though. It's Legend is almost the way I describe it. It's like that is almost more like a beat 'em up than a JRPG. It's like a beat 'em up with RPG mechanics.
That's interesting. That's like the opposite of Yakuza, right? They were always beat 'em ups, and then Like a Dragon went turn-based.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Which I love the Yakuza games, turn-based or beat 'em up. I don't care, they're fun. But yeah, Legend is just, I don't know. It's this unique like world building thing, and that's the thing. It's more about like world building because there really is no linear story to Legend of Mana. It's like the entire game is a series of side quests. I'm again gonna plug my channel a bit. I've done 2 videos on Legend of Mana. I did one on Legend of Mana just original, and then I did another one on the remaster that came out last year. And I love them both, and I highly recommend them. The Legend of Mana video is actually one of my favorite videos I've done, and I go into plenty of detail about how much I love that game. But okay, kind of spiraling this back, because we mentioned Pokemon a few times. As someone who did, I played Gen 1, and even back then, like even back when those came out in 98, so I would have been about 8 or 9, I think, when it came out. Even back then, it was like, this doesn't look great. Like, you acknowledge, like, oh man, this is so technologically impressive for the time. But it's like, Generation 1 Pokemon, they don't look that great. And then
it was on the tail end of the Game Boy, right?
It was pretty late.
Some of the last things. Yeah.
Pretty late, yeah. And then Gen 2, which, by the way, Crystal is my favorite Pokemon game. I love Gen 2.
Gold is my favorite, so Gen 2 as well.
Absolutely, yeah. But like with going from Gen 1 to Gen 2, I was like, this looks better. And I still love the look of Gen 2, because like I said, I love that Game Boy aesthetic, and I feel Pokemon Gen 2 is perfection for that.
It's like
aesthetic.
the definitive Pokemon game. You have 2 areas, you beat the guy from the last one, you do the Victory Road twice, it's like...
Yeah.
That's why I always loved Gen 2. I feel like it's so much more than some of the other ones.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get crucified for saying that, but I think it's true. I don't know. Satoru Iwata as well. Huge main focus behind that game was him pretty much doing that.
He made so much of that game what it was, and it was fantastic.
He did it so well and compressed all the files and made everything so good that he put all of Gen 1 in it. That wasn't originally an idea. Like, they were just gonna do Gen 2 as its own thing, but he literally made it to where all the past Pokemon and all of Gen 1's area was put together, which is absolutely insane. And I think from the Pokemon creator, the guy himself, I think Pokemon, like, Gen 2 is the last one he really fully worked on, and he considered it to be, like, the definitive game as well.
It was gonna be the last one, I think, yeah. But then, like, what you were saying, like, with Ruby, like, Pokemon Ruby was the game that, like, I got that, and, like, as far as Pokemon went, like, the jump from Gen 2 to Gen 1, it was like, okay, this is impressive, it looks better. But Gen 2 to Gen 3 was mind-boggling to me. It was so much better. It looked, and again, like, I love the aesthetic of 2, but I was just like, Gen 3 just looked amazing to me.
You also had a backlight built in. It was in color. Dude, it was so good. And I feel like those Game Boy SPs, I don't know if it's just me, I don't know if maybe you just had the regular Advance, but, like, the SP had a battery that, like, lasted forever. I remember charging that thing, going to, like, my grandma's house, playing with it all day, and then coming back home, and it wasn't dead. I feel like if I did that with my Switch, no chance my Switch could have done that.
The day I bought my SP, like, literally within a couple hours, I dropped the charger into a bowl of ramen. And so, for the entire lifespan of my SP, I had this, like, slightly short-circuited ramen-y charger that... so I always had to, like, kind of jiggle the cord to get it to start charging, and it would only charge for, like, so long at a time. That's unrelated. I just
that sucks,
painful
though,
memories
man.
of saving up to buy my SP, and within, like, a few hours, like, the charger cable, like, I unplugged it, and it, like, fell off the bed, and I heard, like... And I was like, what was that? And I looked down and it fell into a bowl of ramen.
And you know, as a kid, that was probably so bad. That's like so burned into your brain, probably, as a child.
God, yeah.
That sucks. Yeah, usually with these podcasts, though, I like to... Because, like, we just started talking a bunch, and which I'm happy about. I think
I was going to say, I know,
podcasts.
like, we said this was going to be a Persona episode, and I think we just very quickly went into all sorts of other stuff.
It's whatever. But I wanted to know more about your channel in general, because, like, I've had Alex Proudfoot on, I got his whole intro and everything. I just like to also learn about, like, your journey, I guess, not just, like, Megaten, but, like, YouTube in general, because I've had a lot of people have different stuff. Like, I started making Dragon Ball content, then Borderlands stuff, and then I came to Megaten. So I was curious, like, what kind of got you into YouTube? What were some of the first topics, I guess, you started talking about? I don't know. Did you jump to Megaten right away? And I guess, like, what's the future for your channel as well? You told us a couple of the series you do, but, like, overall, like, what?
Yeah, no. So I mean, the way I kind of got into it. So I mean, I got into content creation in general. Back in, like, 2009, that was when I launched my webcomic, my Persona webcomic, Persona 3 for the win. If any of you remember that. That was basically, like, because, Persona uses the calendar system, so it was like, so back in 2009, when the game was happening, I was uploading webcomics alongside the game. So for every day. So, and that, I basically did almost every Persona game up until about 2017, which was a couple years after I started the YouTube channel, and I was just, like, kind of done doing the comics. I think the last game I did was Dancing All Night. But yeah, as far as YouTube goes, I think it was basically just like, when I was in college, I just got into a lot more YouTubers. I think I was in college, that's when I learned about, like, Peanut Butter Gamer and Game Grumps and, like, a couple others of those, and I started watching, like, Markiplier and a couple others, like The Completionist and everything. And this is just stuff I watched in college. And literally, I was in school for dramatic writing, like writing scripts, like writing videos and stuff.
Perfect.
So yeah, so I was like, that'd be fun to do, and I bought an Elgato when I was in college, and I just kind of started recording some stuff here and there. I didn't really know what I was gonna do, and then after I graduated college, I did my first video, which was on Glover. Glover's always been a pretty big part of the channel. Well, because Glover is So the N64 was the first console I ever bought with my own money, and so it's a very, very distinct gaming memory for me. It was the first time I didn't get it. It wasn't a console that I just already had and literally don't even know how I got it because I was so young. It wasn't a console I got for Christmas. It was, I literally saved up my own money. It was from some, like, it wasn't a GameStop. It was just like some, like, I think it was just like some cell-phone game store in the, like, some mall in Mississippi, which is where I was living at the time. And I saved up my money. Yeah, I saved up my money to buy it. I think at the time it was like $65 or something like that. I don't remember. It was like it was a used console. And I had like $5 left. And my mom told me, she was like, I am not giving you any money to buy games for this thing. So it was like, so I had this console, it came with one controller, and I was like, oh, that's okay, I'll buy a game here. And then I was like, I have $5. What can I get for $5? And I think my options were Glover. I think literally the way I say it in the video, because I talked about this origin story back then, it was like Glover or some wrestling game. I don't even know which wrestling game. It might have been one of the really good ones. There were some good wrestling games on the N64. I think it was Warzone, which is not one of the good ones. But yeah, so I got Glover, and I don't hate Glover. I will never try to argue that it's a good game. Like, I love it. I love the world and characters and everything. Character. There's not really a lot of characters in Glover. But I don't argue it's a good game.
Yeah, but you cherish it though, right? Because it was a milestone.
It's a mix of nostalgia and stubbornness.
Yeah, I totally get what you mean by that. Like, I grew up, the Sly Cooper series was kind of like the first series I bought myself as well, and like Sly Cooper 3 is absolutely terrible, but I still love it. I cherish it a lot for some reason, just because I know that's, I don't know, a game that I bought and had to play, especially like as a kid, where it's like, that's all you have.
Yeah, like that, yeah, like you might get lucky and go to Blockbuster and rent something, but it's like what you have is what you have.
Yeah, and you might as well, especially if like I said earlier, like renting games. I had a Blockbuster, like you'd rent a game, it's like you're stuck with that for the weekend. You better love it. If not, then well, you're screwed then. You know. But I never felt like as a kid I was that picky. I was like, even if this game sucks, I will still just goof around with it or something. You know.
When I was a kid, I didn't realize that there was such a thing as a bad game. Like even if I just sucked at a game, I just assumed it's because I was bad at it, not because the game was like poorly designed or just kind of bullcrap. Like that never occurred to me. So like, kind of going back to what I said earlier, the reason why most of the games I played on my Super Nintendo were Game Boy games is because a lot of the Super Nintendo games I owned weren't that good. I had like Home Alone 2 and the Beethoven game and
a Beethoven game?
Like the Beethoven,
dog?
The Saint Bernard, yeah.
Okay, I was about to say, I was like Beethoven,
yeah,
like the
not
musician?
Beethoven the composer. But yeah, like I think the Toy Story game is the one I had the most that I really liked. But even that, like I know that's not a good game. I played it a lot as a kid. I think the main way I played that game was there was a cheat code. I think it was kind of like a debug thing. It was like there was a cheat code in the first level. I don't know why I remember this so clearly. There's like a drawer that you can jump on top of, and it was like if you face to turn left and crouch on this drawer for like 5 seconds or whatever, eventually your little lives counter, your little sheriff star starts spinning, and it's like now you have unlimited lives, and you can also skip levels.
How'd you figure that out, though?
I don't even remember. I think it might.
That's so weird.
It might have been in like a magazine or something. I don't remember how I learned this because this is before the internet was a thing.
Yeah, I had cheat code books when I was younger, and I was like, this one game is too brand new. I don't even have any codes for it. Like GTA, I remember them having, like, GTA would always have like a, 3 pages full of freaking codes because of how many cheats were in that game, but. I don't know. I guess sort of to wrap things up here. Like, what is your like number one childhood game? I know you talk about Glover. I don't know if it's that, but like, if you had to pick, what was your number one like childhood game? What's the game as an adult though you'd appreciate more? You'd say like more based off of like, I guess your taste as an adult.
Well,
I think I know mine.
Well, okay, because I thought I had a good answer for you, but like, are you talking like a game that I played as a kid that I maybe didn't like as much and now appreciate more, or just like what is the game that I played as a kid and was like, I love this, and even now as an adult I'm like, I still love this?
No, you can still love it, yeah. Like the game that like maybe for most people would be like just a normal game, but for you it's like it's beyond different. Because I know for me it's the Sly Cooper series. I know a lot of people think like that's just a good game. To me it's like it's way up there. The same thing for like my adult life. I'd say like something like Borderlands is like way up there for me. Something about those games are always just great.
Honestly, I'm gonna say Pokemon. I really feel like that is just one of the most influential and important games of my life. I guess like going back to when I was a kid, specifically it would have been like Blue version and Gold version, because those are the ones I had. But yeah, I mean really, I would say like Pokemon is still just like I loved it as a kid. And the funny thing, so I grew up in Hawaii. So I had a lot of friends.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I grew up in Hawaii because my dad was in the military, and it was like, so I spent most of my childhood there. So like, because Pokemon came out in Japan in 1996, it didn't come stateside until 1998. But I was in Hawaii, in like 96, 97, that whole period. Mm-hmm. So like, I had friends who like had family over there stuff, or like Hawaii got a bunch of like Japanese imports. So I was seeing like magazines and trading cards, and like I was seeing Pokemon.
That's interesting.
Before America even knew what Pokemon was. Like even when like Pokemon did come out here and like we got trading cards and stuff, like one of my most weirdly specific memories is no one on the playground had English Pokemon cards. We all had Japanese cards. So
Yeah.
there was like one kid on the playground who had a Charmander card that said Charmander on it, and it was in English, and we could read it, and it was
Wow.
like, yeah, it blew my mind.
That's like reverse here. Like we'd have like the one who'd had the Japanese card. They're like, how'd you get that?
Yeah, no.
Oh my god, it's crazy.
I still remember my first Pokemon card. It was a Japanese Kabuto card.
That's interesting.
Do
you still have all your old cartridges and stuff?
I don't have. Unfortunately, I do not have my old cartridges because, when I moved at one point in like 2008, I brought my DS and a lot of my Game Boy games with me, and they got lost in the move. So a lot of my original cartridges are sadly like all the really important ones, like all the Pokemon games and like the Demi Kids games. By the way, I am so glad I rebought the Demi Kids games when I did, because like I bought those games new and I was so sad that those were gone. But those were like, I went on like Amazon. It was like I paid like $25 for one of them. I think the other one I just found at GameStop for like 13. It was like $13.99. So I was like early, like 2009, 2010ish. I was able to re-get those games pretty easy. Now those games I think are like $150 for a loose cartridge. Dude. So I'm glad I was able to re-get those when I did. If I lose them again, I will just cut my losses and be like, all right, I'm emulating these.
Yeah, at that point you just have to. I strangely enough, like my cousins, they were a bit older than me, and my older brother obviously is older than me, but they had old Pokemon cartridges, but they just got old enough that they just didn't care about it anymore. They grew out of it.
Yeah.
I still have those old cartridges. I have a Pokemon Yellow.
Nice.
I also have Pokemon Blue, but like it's scratched on the front, so you can't, like, you hardly see Bulbasaur on it or whatever. Or I guess Blastoise, what it is. Yeah. But and I also have a Pokemon Crystal as well. I literally have this stuff locked up in like a box, and it also has the Pokemon Game Boy Color in there as well, which is like also
like like that yellow and blue one with the Pokemon.
Yeah,
and I thought that was so cool when I was a kid. I never had that one, but
I have Ruby in there as well, which isn't as rare, but it's still out there.
It's still good,
but...
man. Yeah. So
yeah, I have that literally locked up. I'm like, I'm keeping this safe. And I have Pokemon Heart Gold with the Pokewalker and the box and everything. That's my favorite Pokemon.
I still have the boxes. I think I still have the Pokewalkers somewhere, but they're not in the box. Yeah. So I don't. They're probably at storage somewhere.
Mine doesn't work. I need to put a new battery in it just to see if it works. I'm just curious.
Yeah. So I know I feel like we talked about Pokemon more than Megaton today, which I'm okay with. I'm always happy. I'm always down to talk
whatever.
About Pokemon.
I mean, this Pokemon isn't necessarily, this podcast isn't necessarily
this Pokemon podcast from now on.
Yeah, from here on out, guys.
Welcome to Rising Pokemon with.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, hey, like.
So I have to ask this.
Free flow.
Kind of to wrap this up, and this kind of goes to what we were saying earlier about highly anticipated games for the rest of this year.
Yeah.
Are you going to get Scarlet or Violet? And if so, which one are you leaning towards?
I'm so torn. Here's my thing. I want the female professor, but I'm a huge space and like tech nerd. Like I have like 3 monitors right now. That's how much of like a tech nerd I am, and I don't know. I also work from home with like technology and stuff. So I want the guy because he's supposed to be like a futuristic one, but I want the female professor. It's such a weird thing that the professor's different depending on which one you get. So I think Scarlet is hers.
Yes, she's Scarlet.
Yeah, I'll probably get Scarlet because I think I have some other friends and I think my brother they're going to be getting the other ones. So I try to get the one that's different, I guess. Yeah. So I'll probably be getting Scarlet. What about you?
I was definitely leaning towards Violet because it's like I like Violet more as a name. Purple's my favorite color. They kind of had like that symbolism of like orange and grapes, and I'm definitely leaning towards grapes there. But yeah, I saw a hot caveman lady, and I was like, oh man. So it's like I do like the professor better. I also like the mascot better. I do like the Scarlet mascot more. So it's like
really? So the non-futuristic one you like more.
I like the past one. I'm definitely liking the past theming they got with that.
What typing do you think they are? I've heard people wonder.
I think they confirmed it. I think the Scarlet one is dragon fighting, which I think is a cool combination.
Really?
I think. I'd have to double check. And then I think the Violet one is just like electric dragon.
That makes sense. That's what I figured it was.
Which we've had dragon fighting before, right? I think one of the pseudo legendaries was dragon fighting.
It might have been. I think you're right.
Jungmyo or whatever his name was from Gen 6. Like,
I wouldn't be surprised.
As much as I love Pokemon, I'll admit, like Gen 6 and 7 and even kind of 8 are where my knowledge of like, oh yes, I know all the Pokemon definitely starts to deteriorate a little bit more. It's like I can picture them, but I can't like.
Yeah, same.
I can't remember their names or.
After Black and White, I didn't even buy the ones after that. I bought them years later after Black and White, the X and Y and even Sun and Moon. I have it. I've owned them forever, but I haven't beat it.
Sun and Moon is such a sore spot for me because it's the Alola region. It's based on Hawaii. It's based on where I grew up.
Oh, yeah.
So I love the region. I love most of the Pokemon, but they are some of my least favorite games. Like, oh my god, they drag.
It's structured
and
weird.
I don't even hate the structure. It's just like it's so linear, which I guess is a weird complaint. But
that's kind of what I mean. Like
there's one specific moment in Sun and Moon, which you said you haven't played those ones.
I played Moon pretty much because there's not gyms, right? It's the challenges.
It's the trials, which I was fine with.
I think I had 2 trials left or something like that, so I got pretty far in. I'm not
so you might have seen this guy, but it's like I don't know. Back in like Gen 1 and 2 and 3, like I feel like almost every gen up to this, it's like if you couldn't go somewhere or the game didn't want you to go somewhere yet, I felt like there was kind of a logical reason why you couldn't, or it was like you would get what you needed to overcome it, and that was fine. That felt like a natural way of progression.
There's a pseudo-Wudo in the way.
And yeah, it's like, but Sun and Moon had this dude, and I hate this guy, and I want to punch him in his dumb face, where he's riding on his Stoutland, and you try to go this direction, you're trying to like explore it's not even like to get past somewhere, I think it's like to explore the rest of a town. He's just like, hey, my Stoutland is smelling stuff. Can you come back later? You're distracting him. I'm just like, screw you, dude. Like,
it's like didn't ask. Sorry, what?
Yeah, like so many characters in Pokemon need to just mind their own business. Like,
yeah. Although to be fair, our character definitely doesn't mind their own business. Just walk into people's houses, check their trash cans real quick, and then ask them what they got.
Your daughter gave me this TM. I think it's yours. I'm gonna leave now.
Yeah, so I might trade Pokemon later. I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess like whether I'm gonna get Scarlet or Violet, I was leaning Violet. I'm currently leaning Scarlet, but I really like just knowing what we know so far about the differences. I know there's gonna be more, and I want to see what
yeah, and
what else.
I think this game had 4-player co-op. I'm pretty sure, or something like that.
Yeah, which looks fun, but I will probably never do it. I mean, maybe maybe I'll toy around with it just to see how it works. But
my thing is, I don't want to buy Nintendo Online. That's my problem.
I have Nintendo Online just because I still occasionally use it for like Animal Crossing and stuff. But
that's understandable.
But yeah, it's the idea of like, oh man, 4-player open world Pokemon. It's like cool. Not really a selling point for me, but you know, cool that it's there.
I'm wondering how it works. Like, would you? I appear to people like literally fighting over Pokemon in the wild. Like, what happens if a shiny like fucking like Torchic or something walks by? Is it like everybody gonna go, oh my god, and just throw Pokeballs at like crazy?
I'm wondering if like the Pokemon that show up on your screen are not necessarily the one.
Oh, it's like similar like Borderlands 3, where it's like certain instances of it or something.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, we'll have to see. Do you know which starter you're gonna pick?
I kind of don't know. I usually do fire starters, but to be honest, in this one, I think the fire starter might be the one that I like the least. Grass Cat or Weed Cat or whatever people are calling it, and then Donald Duck. You know, how could I not? Both of those are honestly really good.
I love Fuecoco. To me, I'm just like Chili Pepper Crocodile. Like, I am in. I will say, Sprigatito, I can't take seriously ever since voice actress Christina V uploaded the video where she was just singing Sprigatito to the tune of Despacito.
Oh god.
And it was delightful. I love the video, but it's just I can't look at that Pokemon now without just like that popping into my head.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think they're good starters though.
I like all of them. I think this is a very I remember with Gen 8, I really didn't like any of the starters. And like really even seeing their later forms, there's really nobody I love. But
I'm interested what these later forms will be. I know a lot of people don't want. I can't say the cat's name.
Sprigatito.
Sprigatito, yeah. I mean Spanish, right? Which is a cool region. I'm glad they're finally doing like Spanish stuff.
Yeah.
So people are like, they better stay on all fours or whatever. It's
a lot. Which I think this is just my inner jerk. I'm rooting for it to not, just because I want to see people get mad. That's like,
that's kind of how it was too.
I'm not a troll. I'm not going around like trying to ruin that for people. But there is definitely that little part of my head being like, yes, stand on your hind legs.
Evolve.
make them mad. It would be so funny. Which
it would be.
I don't know. I
think Chili Pepper Crocodile, he has to be the one that I'm most curious in his evolution. I could see like everything else's evolutions. It's probably just like a bigger duck or something like that. But like his, I'm just like, what is it gonna be? Like, how does that work? That's the one I'm most curious about.
He's the one I'm most curious about, but it's also the one I'm the most worried about because of
it could look ugly.
Yeah, like if he looks ugly, I might just not let him evolve. I might just be like, no, you stay adorable.
Stay cute, stay down there, don't do anything else. Cyndaquil is one of my favorites as well. I think Cyndaquil looks super ugly its last evolution.
Oh, Typhlosion.
Yeah, I don't like Typhlosion a whole lot. They could fix it. I don't think they'd take a lot, but I don't like... I don't know, he looks kind of weird.
Did you like the Hisuian Typhlosion, the ghost type one from...
Yeah, that one looked dope. I actually really liked that one. I thought it looked cool, yeah. It's not very much different. Just like the flames are like purplish or whatever.
Yeah, they gave it like that, like the kind of collar thing and like the will-o'-the-wisp flames. It was interesting.
Yeah. Which is still pretty cool. But alright guys, I think that's gonna wrap up this episode of the Rising Sun podcast. I don't know, man, I really enjoyed this. I thought this was fun.
I had a good time.
We tackled a lot of like different topics and stuff like that. I guess Soul Hackers, Persona, and Pokemon. This was a fun episode, guys. Link down in the description to his channel. Please check him out. And I hope to see you all again very soon. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one.
Bye.